All right, super early morning devotion for you guys this morning, but very important one nonetheless. So I'm reading in First Corinthians. I just got to chapter 8, and it says, all of us possess knowledge, in quotation marks. This knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. If anyone imagines that he knows something, he does not yet know as he ought to know. But if anyone loves God, he is known by God. We are in a space where we are acquiring a lot of knowledge very quickly, and it's a lot of knowledge that the world deems very useful, like making money, influencing people, getting the dream life, whatever you want to call it. But Paul here is talking about whether or not to eat meat sacrificed to idols. So it's not really a thing that we think about a lot, but what he says is so true. Whenever we think we have this special knowledge that other people don't, all that does is puff us up. And it's not to say that wisdom and knowledge is bad, but love is better. It's like if you imagine that you know something, some kind of secret knowledge, or you just know more than other people, you do not know as you ought to know. But if anyone, regardless of IQ, regardless of what they know, regardless of the income, if they love God, he is known by God. We don't know anything compared to anything. We know nothing. I mean, God created the universe. He created us. He holds everything in his hand. Like, we are just like ants. I mean, we know nothing. And so the more we think we know, the more we get puffed up, and the less that we actually love others. And where Paul is going with this is, in this time, they understood that there is only one God. So food sacrificed to idols, like idols aren't even real, so they would just eat the meat anyway, but they didn't care. But there were some people who converted from actually worshiping those fake idols who would avoid the meat that was sacrificed to them because they just saw it as like bad for their conscience. They're like, we used to worship these old idols, like we don't want to eat meat sacrificed to these worthless idols. Like they were doing it out of love for God. That's why they were avoiding eating that meat. But the people who never had that problem had this knowledge about how, oh, well, we can eat anything. Everything's fine because God created it. And these idols aren't even real, so we can eat anything. But that would cause their brothers to stumble, the ones who didn't have that knowledge, right? And this goes right in line with anything today, like drinking as well. In my hometown, drinking was like a big deal. Like either you were saved and you hated alcohol, you never drank, and you thought it was like from Satan, or you just drank. It's like the biggest division. It's like bigger than Alabama versus Auburn football. Like it's like you drink or you don't drink. People who drink do not associate with people who don't. People who don't drink do not associate with people who do. And it's a big like item there, like in the church where I'm from. And as I started reading the Bible on my own and going through college and stuff, I realized that drinking is not bad in itself. In fact, like it's a gift from God in a lot of scenarios. And I had this knowledge that, oh, drinking isn't bad. And so I would go back home and just have a couple drinks here and there. But here's the issue with that. That's a stumbling block for people where I'm from. Like people who had a problem with alcohol, who, came to know Jesus and came to know the Lord and gave that up and left it behind. Even though drinking, like inherently just drinking alcohol is not sinful, it was for them. Therefore, I should not go back and with my puffed up knowledge about, oh, drinking's fine if you do it the right way, and drink in front of them. Because what does that do? Paul says, take care that your right, this knowledge of yours, does not become a stumbling block to the weak. And then Paul finishes off with, if food makes my brother stumble, I will never eat meat. It's a pretty tough statement. But just be very careful. Like this knowledge that you've been entrusted with, first off, it's been entrusted to you by God. You didn't do anything to deserve this. We have been blessed with whatever knowledge we have. Keep that in mind first. And second off, do not let it puff you up. The more knowledge that we acquire, the harder this is going to be. Like the more we know compared to just the average person, the more we're just going to inherently see ourselves as better than them, but we're not in any circumstance. And remember that knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. And so we should love our brothers. And at the end of the day, it does not matter how smart you are. The smartest people in the world have died without knowing Jesus. So their wisdom was their biggest folly. The Bible says, but if anyone loves God, he is known by God. Regardless of how smart you think you are, regardless of what you know. You know, there are people who, by worldly standards, would be considered absolutely just like worthless by worldly standards. But they know Jesus and God knows them, you know? And there are people who are making billions of dollars who think they're going to save the world and have all this knowledge. And God will say, I never knew you. Unless they humble themselves and trust in Jesus. So let it be a lesson to us, brothers. This one hit me hard because, yeah, we're gaining worldly knowledge at an alarming rate. But none of that means anything, right? Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. Love you guys. It's there.